Ahoy to you, sir. Good timing on the drink there.
Ahoy to you. Well,
How's your
apologies. I should say we did skip a week because we're very busy adults.
Very true. Yeah, we attempted to, and then the night that you were free, I was not free, and then vice versa. So
Yeah,
we did
just
try,
busy stuff, but we've got more than 3 episodes now, so that's the main thing.
and
Very.
we found time for it the next week, so we're alright. We
Yeah.
haven't we haven't lost the post again.
How's
Oh
down
dear,
south going, mate?
fucking freezing, absolutely freezing. I reckon this house is about -3 inside at the moment.
Yeah,
So that's not too great.
yeah.
What about in the northeast?
The sun's out, but she blows a cold gale.
Ugh,
Yeah, it's been
can I get your
not.
thoughts? What I can deal with rain, can deal with heat, I can deal with overcast, I can deal with hail. I cannot, for the life of me, put up with wind.
Mm, it's fucking freezing.
It's the worst. A cold wind can get fucked, and then
That's
in
what
summer, a
Adelaide
northerly
was.
wind. Oh man,
It
fresh
always
off
was cold
Antarctica, mate.
breeze. Yeah, I fucking don't like the wind either. I do like a gloomy day though.
But yeah, overcast, still no wind, no rain. They're my favourite type of days. You get plenty of
Did you?
those up in Queensland, surely.
Oh, during the dry season, yeah. Did you play footy on the weekend, sir?
No June long weekend here with the King's birthday, so no footy this weekend. Had it off. What about yourself?
No, we had a bye this week.
So you had long
Hopefully that.
weekend then a bye.
Now we played last week,
Oh, you did play last week.
and we still managed to lose, but I
Surely you come
managed
good
to.
in the second half of the year.
Oh, you'd think so. We're coming dead last on the ladder, but it's not
Did
the
you have a few
year.
players leave?
Not leave. Our One of our best players snapped his ankle last year, and it's pretty much rumored going around he has to retire because it's not good.
Yep,
So that
it's that bad.
sucks. But
That's fucked.
we've all agreed that we're a bunch of good players because we come from South Australia, Victoria, Tassie, but we just can't work together somehow.
Yeah, okay. So what, you've even said that as a group?
Well, we've said that all the chats I've had, that's what we've said. Plus, we've got really no structure,
Yeah, okay.
and we're halfway through the year. We get
What's
taught
the
and
coach doing?
trained to break other teams' structures, but hasn't come up with ours.
That's bizarre. You can't just be defense, defense, defense.
Yeah, our
That's
forwards.
ridiculous.
Nothing against our forwards. It's just our entries, and that's why we're on the bottom. Just a shit year.
Yeah. Are you getting smacked or is it still close?
No, they're relatively close games. The last one, oh, we lost by 46, but the whole game we were close. It was just the last 10 minutes we let a few run over us, but
Yep. Yep.
uh, I
It
did get best
happens.
on ground in my last game, so I'm doing
No.
my best.
Yeah, yeah. Just
I
growing as a
also
player as you come into the second half of the year.
also got a concussion, and I'm pretty sure my finger's fractured, but I'm
Ah,
good.
yeah, it's neither here nor there. That's probably your
That's
45th
as
broken
far as
bone,
I
though.
could. That's as far as I can bend it so far in a week and a half. You can see that.
Oh, yeah, it's fat as too.
That's over a
You've
week
always
now.
had fucked fingers, though.
Hey, long fingers, thank you.
Yeah, sorry.
But
Excuse the French.
I
But
was
should we
gonna
get
play.
into it?
I was quickly
Hang
that. I
on.
was
You go.
gonna play for the Rezzies this week, but I had headaches up till Wednesday, so took a leaf out of many head injuries and decided not to play.
Yeah, smart. Smart. So you took the whole week off instead.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah,
trained,
smart.
but no contact.
Yeah, well, mine have been mine have been pretty bad lately. I had one last year, and escaped. I think the year before I escaped with none. but my one last year was a really bad delayed concussion. I I got dump tackled just before just after half time. Played the rest of the game. Actually worked the next day as well, but then I that night got super nauseous. Felt like I was going to throw up. Almost got like a little bit of vertigo as well. Um, and then for the next 3 or 4 days, I couldn't work, and I was literally fucked. Um, Over the next couple of weeks, I had to spend like hundreds of dollars and going to see an actual like concussion specialist to do testing with my eyes. And I reckon for about a week or a week and a half, I had to, on the hour, I had to spend 5 minutes in a completely black room to almost like reset my brain. So it was pretty full on for a little bit, but so far so good this year.
Things
But
we
I've
do for
only
fun,
only
eh?
played one. Yeah, yeah, all fun and games. All
That's
fun
it.
and games. Should we
Alright,
get into the basketball?
we should. The old ball in the hoop.
So NBA
Actually,
Finals.
I missed not round one, game one, because I was working away.
Yeah, okay. So I'll go game one and I can breeze through it, and then you can get more stuck into game two with me because we both watched
Yeah,
it today. So
definitely.
game one was literally, imagine just having all your notes as to what OKC did well and what Indiana had to improve going into game two. And then with 2 minutes to go, you just scrunch all of those notes up and throw it in the bin because then Indiana did what they've done all playoffs and do the most fucking ridiculous comeback ever and cap it off with a Tyrese Halliburton game-winning shot. It was ridiculous again. Tyrese had shot poorly. He was well defended all night, well game planned a bit against, I should say, and perfectly played by Rick Carlisle like they've done so far all playoffs. Just let them play. Shea missed the shot, could have easily called time, but instead of getting OKC a set defense, Tyrese just walked him down, little elbow jumper, money. Um, Basically, the story of the game was just corner threes. Um, they just drove. Oklahoma would sort of pinch their guy that was. It's hard to explain it. So imagine the 3 point line, and you know the guys that are on like the 45 degrees. So they would have those players sitting on the 45-degree 3 point line. OKC's defenders were on the elbow, and Tyrese would drive the gaps and they'd pinch, and he would make the pass so that OKC then had to rotate and scramble, and the corner three was open all night, and they shot 46% from three. Some ridiculous stat for the playoffs, they've shot 50% from the corners, Indiana, as a team, which is just absolutely insane. Overall, that's all they had to really fix. OKC, they didn't really shoot that well as well, so was what it was. Indiana have beaten everyone in game one so far of the playoffs, and you expected a bit more intensity from OKC today, and
Yeah,
that is pretty much what happened. What were your thoughts on the game today?
it was just like you said when you messaged me. It was I think 8 points. It was real close and scrappy, and then they got that. What was it? The second quarter, that break where they got 18, 20 points up, and they just managed the whole game to keep that. I think the lowest they might have got was 14, but they just stayed on top by the looks of it. The main thing, which was probably the biggest problem for Pacers, was Halliburton had 5 points going into the last quarter and scored 12 in the last, but it was a bit little too late. I think he let down the team. He wasn't shooting, he was passing off because he wants to get in the paint. But OKC's in their defense, every time he drove the ball, they locked him down big time.
Yeah, it was Richard Jefferson made a good point and just said it was a bit too little too late for Tyrese just to come out and shoot in the last quarter.
Mm.
Like, you've spent 3 quarters and you'd shot 7 times, and then you're going to shoot 5 shots in the last quarter. And it was probably just OKC, just they changed their coverage a little bit, sort of playing a bit more passively defensively in the last quarter to give Tyrese
Yeah.
those shots. But yeah, like you said, too little too late. They just, what's the point in, it's kind of weird. You see all these other star guards and small forwards and centers like a Jokic or even Jamal Murray, LeBron, Luka, Kyrie, Steph, KD, all those guys in the playoffs, if they have a bad game, you know that they're going to come out the next game in the playoffs and just try and shoot the ball. It's
Yeah,
they almost put on themselves like I'm gonna do everything I can to put my team in a good position. Tyrese, on the other hand, when he does this continuously, he just passes. He
yeah.
just he just tries to find the open man and just passes, and it almost becomes like a 4-on-5 offensively because you just know that he's not going to be a shooting threat. It's really bizarre, and he does it all the time. So interesting to see. Like, what does it look like if in a game three he comes out and shoots 20 shots and
Yeah,
just
that's
tries
it.
to put pressure on that way?
I think that's what he needs to do because it just looked like he didn't want to shoot for the whole game until the last quarter.
Yeah, exactly. Um,
But talking about shooting, Aaron Wiggins was on fire.
yeah, really good
He
game off the bench.
he stepped up, 18 points off the bench. Even Caruso had a blinder.
Well, look at
He's,
that bench scoring.
yeah, they outscored
So,
him by heaps. That bench.
so Benedict scored a few in junk time, which sort of spruced that up. I think TJ McConnell scored 5 points in junk time as well. So that sort of boasts their numbers a little bit more. But if you've got 14, 25, 28, 29, 32, so 34 points from Indiana off their bench, including some junk time points. 38, 40, 42, 45 from the Thunder still, which really only was Jalen Williams' three in junk time. Aaron Wiggins and Alex Caruso, apart from Shea, obviously, were like such a huge reason why they won this game.
I'm
Um,
pretty sure Pacer didn't it. Not a single Pacer was on double digits at half time.
yeah,
Well, there might have
yeah.
been one. They were
Well,
just
no, I think you're right. I think a little bit into the third quarter or halfway through the third quarter, Nemhard got himself up to his 11th point and just didn't score for the rest of the game. Um, Pascal only got up to his 15 points because he lifted the line. He was a little bit more aggressive against Case and Wallace was his direct matchup pretty much. So, but apart from that, like,
I think it
yeah,
was
Indiana just
expected.
got outplayed.
Yeah, I think it was expected how the game was going to go today.
I think the other part that I found kind of crazy is against the Knicks, 2 minutes 40 to go when they were down by 14 and they started making that ridiculous comeback.
Yeah,
3 minutes and 10 seconds down 17. That's when Indiana pulled the starters. So they sort of, yeah, cool. We've
seven.
we've won our game one. We've stolen a game already. We don't need to try here. And they just pulled it early and accepted it. So interesting sort of difference in coaching.
But there was a in the second quarter when OKC are up by 21 or something. Pacers went on a 10-0 run in under a minute and a half out of
Mm,
nowhere. So it was like,
yeah,
shit, you're not safe no matter how high your score is.
and that's just with their pace. Like you see, and this is what's going to help them when they're back in Indiana. Tyrese actually doesn't spend a lot of the time dribbling the air out of the ball, trying to get it up the court, and then they're getting into their offense with 13 seconds in the shot clock. He literally gets that ball in and then just chucks it up ahead and
Yeah,
just relieves all the pressure off of him to get the ball up. And you see they start getting into their sets 18 seconds into the shot clock, and they're getting good looks with 13 seconds to go in the shot clock. So they've only spent 11 seconds.
yeah,
Ball goes down the other end, you're still trying to catch your breath as a Thunder. If they miss that shot and then come back down, you've literally had two shots go in 30 seconds. And they can
yeah.
just put this pace on you. It's ridiculous. So it'll be interesting to see how the Thunder sort of combat it back in Indiana.
Well, that's it. I still see OKC beating them game five, 5 games.
Yeah. Indiana have been super strong at home, but I think that just showed that they need to get at least, like Indiana need to get at least one. If not, like I reckon the only chance Indiana have in this series is if they get both. They have to get both and try and win in six because they can't go back to OKC for a game seven. You just saw the level that OKC got up to. There's just no way that Indiana can match that.
Mm, absolutely.
Would you make any changes? Did you watch it that hard that you sort of saw something that you thought, oh, I wonder if Indiana try this, or should OKC do this?
Oh, I think just with Indiana, Halliburton needs to be more aggressive offensively. He's supposedly the star of the team, and he had 3 points up to like the third quarter or something. You can't
Yeah,
have 3 points and be the face of the league or face of the team. You need to be
face of the championship team.
yeah. You need to step up and don't be scared because it's the NBA Finals, buddy.
Yeah, yeah. There's no do or yeah. Well, and that's it. And that just showed like he was aggressive with that final play. When the game's on the line, he's always the guy. But it's like, why don't you be the guy for
48 minutes.
48 minutes? Yeah, instead of just in the last sort of 3 minutes of the game.
Yeah.
I'd love to see him play with that aggressive off his shooting for a whole game. It'd be very interesting. He could easily be a John Wall 35 and 14 type player.
Oh, he's young as hell. I wouldn't be surprised if he
Turns
could be
into that.
An MVP type of lad if he wants to be, really.
He has that Steve Nash type, could win an MVP off like a 18 and 12 sort of season.
Yeah, just his impact on the team is what makes him valuable.
Exactly. Tips for game 3?
I'll say OKC 10 plus. I don't know the score, but I know there'll just be a 10 plus. I feel like they're just real comfortable in getting big leads. Game 1 was just they put their heads down a bit. Not heads down,
Yep.
they got comfortable. But
Yep.
watching them today, when Indiana would have these quick little spurts, they would lock down and stop jacking
Shut it down
threes
straight
and
away.
go for the paint. Yeah.
That's a great point. I noticed the paint points were much, much higher early on. I don't know how it finished overall, but I did see at one stage it was something like 30 points in the paints to 6. Like they were living in there early. Yeah, it's a good point. That if they can just put their head down, I liked that Jalen Williams was a little bit more aggressive
Same with
as
Chet
well.
as well. He stepped
Chet.
up. What did he get? 17, 18 points after game 1. He only had 6 or something.
Yeah, and what I liked early is he put his head down and drove to the cup to sort of get himself a layup, and then that transitioned into some jump shots. So I was pretty happy with Chet's game. I thought he was awesome. All right, should we move on to the NRL?
We shall knock this on the head.
You're our expert NRL
I am.
commentator.
So Thursday night we had Newcastle Knights versus the Manly Seagulls. Knights won by 4 points, 26-22. Manly were winning 16-0. And then out of nowhere, the Newcastle Knights pulled their fingers out their ass and turned one on. That Fletcher Sharp was a freak. Quick thing on Fletcher Sharp. So I do NRL fantasy, and he was my captain last week because I needed a replacement for my Origin player. He got me 44 as a captain last week. So
What?
He really. I was like, what the fuck? And then because, like we said, we had a busy week last week, I completely forgot my fantasy team. So my captain was locked in, which was Fletcher Sharp again.
He's
And
pulled
I
up
was
with an 81.
He got me 162 this
Holy
week.
shit! Hang on. So the 44 was his doubled score.
Yeah, he only got 22 the last week.
Oh my god! And then he pulls up a fucking 81, so that's a 162.
Yep, absolutely. He was on fire. He scored 2 tries. Ponga played elite. He got the winning try. The Knights just played really good football. It was like Manly got comfortable, like we're talking about OKC, being 16-0 up. They're one of the most roller coaster teams. One week they're beating the top teams, and next week they're losing to the shittest.
Well,
Yeah, it's good for Newcastle, but Manly.
well, Newcastle, after we were giving them the bath because their form was so terrible after their good start to the year, they've all of a sudden won 2 in a row.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's not like the Sea Eagles were really a blowover. Like Sea Eagles have sort of been
They were in,
okay.
yeah, they had been in the eight all year. Now they've been kicked out for this.
Um, I wonder what the
But yeah,
coach said at half time because it's just literally a tale of two halves, wasn't it?
well, pretty much. I hate the coach at Newcastle. I think he's fucking useless. But they've got
Was
the
there a
players.
wind? Do you know if
Um,
there was a wind?
I'm not sure if there was a win, to be honest with you. Interesting, quickly put in with the Manly Seagulls, Daly Cherry Evans has been dropped from the Queensland side.
Yeah, right. Okay, exact. Like you called that too. You thought he probably deserved to get the drop.
But I didn't agree that who's come in. Ezra Mann.
Hasn't probably shown enough. There'd be a few in that
No.
position that could be sort of taken on board, wouldn't there?
Well, I think Dearden's in the position, but the replacement for the bench would be Ezra Mann.
Yep.
But, yeah, I wouldn't really give it to him, but I'm no NRL coach. But we'll move on to the Friday. Melbourne Storm versus the North Queensland Cowboys, 38-14. I was
I
watching this.
expected. I'll just say quickly. I expected the win for the Storm. I probably didn't expect the scoreline.
Well, with this game, I think when I turned it on, oh, what was it? Might have been 20-0 or something.
Yep.
And then Cowboys scored two back-to-back tries, so they were back in it. It was getting really, really interesting. And then out of nowhere, Storm just boom locked in. Power. The way they run the ball and break the line is insane.
Yeah, like you've got guys like Jerome Hughes that just put on a fucking real quick step. They've got all sorts of those sort of guys in their team. Like Coates a little bit less now that he's older, but he used to. Pappenhausen looks in like he's
And
trusting
they
his
got
body again. He's going for those steps.
Munster was played like his old form. He was
Yeah,
just free playing, just stepping, skipping, running sideways. That's what was creating the holes.
yeah. They played with a lot of confidence and like it was a bit of the Hughes show just before halftime. His 15 to 40 minutes in that game was really really elite. And then I thought they just came out in the second half a little
Yeah,
bit slow. Well, actually, they came out really quick. They obviously scored really quick, but then it looked like they turned off 4 tries to 1. Looked like they wanted to try and sit and steer, and you're right. All of a sudden, the Cowboys hit back, and then it sort of they bring a few subs on. It looked like the message got sent out, and they just went into overdrive again, and the Cowboys couldn't keep up.
yeah. They're both in safe positions on the ladder. You got Melbourne fourth and Cowboys six. Well, six isn't really that safe, but Melbourne's on a tear at the moment, so there's probably still. I know they're sitting fourth, but probably the favourites to win it all. Honestly,
Now, you might be able to explain this a little bit better than I can, but how is it that the Bulldogs have had 2 buys, Storm and Cowboys have had 2 buys, but the Raiders have had none? And they've played 14 games while your Bulldogs, I know they're playing now, so that's their 12th game. But
oh,
how
it's
does
just a
that work that
weird.
a team can have 2 buys before any team has one?
Yeah, it's a weird setup. I don't know how the NRL does their buys because they obviously each week a team has a buy because there's 17 teams, but I think Canberra's just that lucky one that isn't getting buys.
Yeah,
Honestly,
yeah. It's a
yeah, I
bit
don't know
strange.
how their structure works. But we'll move on to the next one. Dolphins. I missed this game because I watched the Lions and Crows game. But Dolphins 56 to St George 6. Pure
Pure-
domination.
They've really found some form lately. The Dolphins, they're 3-1 in their last 4, and they're scoring. So I remember a few episodes ago we were looking at the ladder, and the Dolphins were, I think they were 3-6 or something like that, but their difference was line ball. We thought,
Yeah.
okay, they're around the mark at least. They're not losing by a lot, and obviously not winning by a lot either. Since then, they've gone that 3-1. they've now got a difference of 92 points.
Yeah.
So in their 3 wins, and sorry, in their last 4 games, they're a plus 86. So they are just destroying teams lately and playing some really good football.
I reckon it's all in their number 7, Katoa. Killing it this year. I think he's a New South Wales boy too, so he's only young. I think he's only 22, 23. So when your Clearys and stuff start to slow it down, your Moses, who'd be a perfect fit, but he's been killing it this year.
Yeah, he's only 21. I just had a look. He's a big boy. He's about 5'10", 5'11", but he's 90 kilos. So he's just a bit of a ball in there and just goes hard.
Like looking at all these players that scored, like you got Nicarima, Farmworth, the Hammer. Like there's more names.
Their whole list.
Pretty much everyone had a go. The whole team stepped up. Dragons, on the other hand, they're hard. They're sitting 11th. They win good games one week, and then next week they do stuff like this. So
I saw a crazy thing with this game. I saw a guy put a punt on for the Dolphins 50 plus. 51 plus. And he cashed out when they scored their try at the 58th minute. He cashed out for $3,500. And it was perfect timing because literally 2 minutes later, obviously, is when Valentine Holmes scored.
yeah,
So it was going to be something like $30 into $8,000 if the whole thing got up. But he cashed out at 3.5, and good timing because then when Valentine Holmes scored, it was 50-6 at that stage. So needing 2 sets of scores in 15 minutes. Good timing for that punter. Cashed $34 into $3,500.
Jesus Christ.
Crazy.
On to the sad day. Your Sharks 10 to the Warriors 40.
Yeah, I don't know what happened here. We were very, very poor. I was looking in the comments sections, and there was a lot of we cannot no longer defend Nico Hines anymore. So he's just not looking as explosive, not looking as creative. He's a bit more fumbly with the ball. He just looks very safe and definitely not in the form that he was a couple of years ago when he won the medal. So the fans are just about had enough and want him out, which is crazy to think about considering how good he was sort of 18 months ago.
He's only 28. Would you say he peaked?
Yeah, which is crazy. Usually this is that threshold for rugby players where they might slow down a little bit athletically, but that's when their brain kicks in and they look smarter and they look like they're making more plays and seeing the game slows down around them. Doesn't look like that at the moment for Nico Hines. He looks like he's just flat out slowing down, and and the game looks like it's actually speeding up around him. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with him over the next couple of weeks as well.
Yeah. As much as Hines ain't playing too good, his opposite, Luke McCarthy, he's playing. I think he's leading the Dally M at the moment. This young lad.
I wouldn't be surprised.
But the Warriors are just playing some great footy. I thought this game would be closer. It was close for a bit, 12-all. But they just somehow managed to run over them at the end of it pretty much. It was like what you said. There was, well, not Nico Hines, but the Sharks themselves almost looked like they gave up in a sense.
So bizarre. Like we noticed it even last week. I think it was the week that we missed, but me and Dad were talking, and we are kind of allowing teams to score in bursts, and I don't know why. Like I think it was. I'm trying to get a look at last week's results. No, it was the week before when we did the pod with the Roosters as well, who had a big win.
Yeah.
Like 49-54 and then 76-79. Like they just go bang, bang. And then even this week, if you have a look, 41-54, 58-66, 76. Like it's just non-stop bang, 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 bang. Like too many times we've let spurts like that affect us. and especially the last two losses, yeah, it's just been just having teams just score and dominate field position, and we just can't get it out of our half at the moment. Like we've only scored 30 points in 2 weeks, while on the flip side we've allowed 82. Like
Yeah.
it's
Well, you,
ridiculous. And originally we were a high scoring team.
yeah, you've got the Dragons next week, so it could almost be game of the round with the way both teams are performing.
Yeah,
Someone's
well,
got
we're
to
both
step
two and
up.
two in our last four, and both have copped some hiding. So
Yeah.
yeah, it literally could be based on form.
On to the second Saturday game. The old Black Dog jersey Brisbane Broncos 44 to the Gold Coast Titans 14. Firstly, I reckon the best looking jersey in the NRL I've seen in a long time.
Do you
And
know what it reminds me of? And when you say the best jersey, also how good is that stealth Fremantle Guernsey where it's all black with the really dark
yeah,
purple? Like that's
that
what that
is.
reminds me of.
But I don't know if it was the meaning behind it, jersey, or what the coach said, but this was the best performance I've seen the Broncos play since round one. Everyone stepped up. Reece Walsh, I usually give him a bad time, but he played really well. It was Adam Reynolds' 300th game. Uh, he just played great. He's got his year extension, so he should be stoked about that. Katoni Staggs played really well. Yeah, it was an all-round great game from the Broncos and the Titans. Is it just Gold Coast teams in general that are always shit? I don't know how they're going to fix this team because they've had superstars come through, they've had all these great coaches, and they just every year can't do anything.
Yeah, they just don't have an identity now. I didn't catch any of this, but when you know the meaning behind the Guernsey that the Broncos have, and then like you said, you add on Adam Reynolds' game as well. Probably a bit too much to overcome if you're Gold Coast anyway. You know that Broncos are going to play with a lot of passion and a lot of like feeling. I don't know if you can
Yeah,
have like I don't know. Can you play better just because of an occasion? Maybe not. It's not like you're trying any harder than what you would any other game, but maybe it's just the 1% that they all lift. And all of a sudden, when your whole team's 10% up, 11% up, that's obviously
yeah.
when you see results like this.
The
Um,
morale's up a bit more. Like, like you said, I guess it's always like that each week. They'll be all up for it, but who knows? Maybe the story behind their jerseys just lit a fire on their ass or something.
yeah, well, it seemed like that because like you didn't actually have to watch the game to sort of understand how much of a start that got them off to. They just came out like literally 1 minute, 10 minutes, 17, 20, 28, game's done.
Yeah,
So literally in the first 25 minutes of the game, Broncos had
it
put it
was
to
over.
bed. Good, good crowd at Suncorp too. Like it looked like they were all up for it, and their
Mm.
crowd got behind them. And yeah, Gold Coast are in a hell of a lot of trouble. They look
Mm.
terrible.
Well, we'll go on to the Sunday. The Green Machine, Canberra Raiders 34, no, 36, sorry, to the South Sydney Rabbitohs 12. This
They
also
don't
had a
need a
big.
buy.
This also had a big occasion to it. It was Josh Papali's record-breaking game for the club. I think it's
That's crazy.
319. He got past. I think Mel Meninga he passed.
That's a massive occasion.
Yeah. Well, even bigger that he scored himself a double, and he even converted one of his own tries.
What a fucking. How many fantasy points did he score?
Oh, he,
8. Oh,
yeah,
Ethan Strange
no,
got 88. That's the leader for the game.
yeah. Ethan Strange stepped up. What did he get? Two tries, and
Two
obviously the
tries,
goal
five
kicker.
conversions. That's nuts. And then Papali doing the conversion for his own try as a prop. That's hilarious.
Yeah, what's his name? Hosking and Sasagi getting on the scoreboard. Like at first, you would have been a bit nervous because, well, Rapido scored the first
Well,
two.
Rabbitohs came out and went bang bang. But from then on, it was just like complete domination. Like better completion rate, more runs, 400 more meters, more line breaks, more tackle breaks. Like, um, what was really impressive about them as well was they'd get tackled and then they'd gain 5 or 10. Like, they just literally overwhelmed the Rabbitohs in the end. Looked like the old men amongst boys out there. They just overpowered the Rabbitohs. And being the boys with the Rabbitohs, that's probably why they can come out and have a hot start like that. But then the men took over, and just from that late first half onwards, it's probably good timing that Strange got that try just before half time, because obviously the momentum shifted. And then from then on, that second half was just, they absolutely killed them.
Well, they're in kind of a limbo spot, the Rabbitohs, sitting on 14 points at 12th position.
They win, they lose, they win, they lose.
The crazy thing is, from 7th spot all the way down to 12th, they're all in the same points.
Yeah. Yep.
Which is crazy.
So many sides around that sort of 5 and 6 wins. Like, 15th, like the Knights have 5 wins, and then you've got the Cowboys in 6th on also 5 wins. Once everyone's had their couple of buys and it all gets structured up, there's even been some draws in there, but it is a log jam.
Looks like Panthers can make the 8.
Yeah, all of a sudden, because no one above them is going on a run, so it's leaving the door ajar.
Well, this perfectly ends with Panthers. Not the last game because there's a game on now, but the West Tigers and the Panthers. This was actually a really good game to watch.
It was a tense last 10 minutes.
That last 10 minutes where they done those massive bombs, and back-to-back times the Tigers actually marked it, and I think Soren saved one of the tackles, and then the second kick, the Tigers player marked it again, but as he was getting tackled, he flicked it out and intercepted. He just threw the ball back, and Edwards, who was laying on the ground, caught the ball. But I think this game was more important for Panthers because I think they just wanted to beat the Tigers. Just the fact because Luai was part of them.
Yep. Just rub it in a little. Look what you're missing out on. The Tigers have gone well backwards. We thought that like we just said, there's still a log jam, so they're still technically on for the 8, but 0-4 in their last 4. What needs to change there? Because they probably played with a little bit extra as well because of Luai.
They've had 2 close games, I'll give them that, but they had their chances to win this game at the end. They just couldn't execute it.
Was the Luai moving a bit of a cash grab towards the end of his season, or was there genuine reasons?
I think
end of his career?
Well, he's still young, but I think it was mainly he's achieved 4 flags, so it's time to chase the money, I think.
Yep.
In his mind.
No, it makes sense. Me and Rach were having that discussion today with the Tasmanian team. Like, you think of someone like an Alex Pearce, he's got 1 or 2 more years left where he'll probably try and win a flag with Fremantle as a captain, but then he'll be 32 and he's from Tasmania. So
that's if the team actually happens.
True. It's still obviously in the balance.
In a bit, but
But could it be those sort of late career cash grabs?
Yeah. And the last game, which is its half time at 12-all, Bulldogs and Parramatta. It's pretty much been both ways. You had Matty Burton score the first one, Mitchell Moses score the second, Matoya score the third, and then you had Walker score the fourth. So it's just back and forth.
But if you look at the stats, you'd say the Bulldogs are on top. But
they got
the Eels are just sort of
more complete.
Use
their opportunities.
The only big difference is if you have a look at the defence, 21 missed tackles to 15 in favour of the Bulldogs, and then ineffective tackles 8 to 13. So the Bulldogs probably just need to sharpen up their tackle game in the second half, and by the looks of all the rest of the other stats, the game will sort of lean towards them.
Yeah. All right. AFL.
Weird round with all the weather. that's gone on. There's been some low scoring games. Apparently, if this stays a low scoring game, it was going to be something like the lowest scoring round since 1996 or something, which is
You know
absolutely
what?
crazy. I don't know what the score had to be for Collingwood and Melbourne, but yeah.
Well, no one said
But
100.
no, no, and no one has, like, it's not even close either. Like, Hawks 81, Sydney 80.
Yeah,
So,
81's the highest. And I don't think this game was going to make it. This
nah,
Collingwood
this
game
game
wasn't.
won't. No one will score 100 in the game that's on right now between Collingwood and Melbourne. But we can probably breeze through these because it's not like there's much to talk about. Probably your lines we can talk about a bit, but other than that, all the
Yeah.
other games were pretty.
Dogs and Hawks, so Dogs 59 to Hawks 81. I did tip the Dogs in this. I thought they would be a bit more stronger than what they were.
Just shows that the Hawks are thereabouts at least. Like I thought, they're sliding a little bit. When you look in hindsight, you go, it is a must win for the Hawks, and maybe they come out with the requisite amount of energy and intensity that
Yeah.
clearly, obviously, the Bulldogs didn't match, but um, just shows that they're up for the fight. Funnily enough, like Battle and well, their whole backline in general, but Battle and Tom Barras, they they looked a lot more solid in that backline
Yeah.
without Sicily, which I found really interesting. And then the forward line on the flip side looked like they had more avenues to go because sometimes when they send Sicily down there, they make him the focal point and they become a bit one dimensional. So it'd
Yeah.
be interesting to see where they play Sicily when he comes back healthy. Because Mabior Chol kicked four, he looked good. Jack
Joel
Ginnivan,
kicked four, two.
yeah, ever since Jack Ginnivan's come back from the VFL, he's been actually a very, very good player.
Has stepped up.
Big
Um,
time. But yeah,
yeah,
just a down night for the Bulldogs. It just looked like they
it
just didn't
was.
match the intensity that the Hawks bring. So it'll be
Like
interesting to
Dale,
see how they go.
Kennedy, Richards, Bont, they all had their touches, but I just, yeah, it was just a odd kind of game to watch, really, for the Dogs. They just couldn't
It
execute
looked
when
like
they
it was
had to.
right there for the taking. Like it looked like they could have just made a flick and they're just
Mm,
never allowed to, is how I
yeah.
sort of watched anyway.
Right, we'll move on to, I guess you'd call this the game of the round. I
Yeah, it has to
think
be, even though it was as
yeah,
ugly as what it was.
the Crows 68 to the Lions 63. That first quarter was awful scoring wise.
Yeah, I think the rain teamed down the most. Weirdly enough, a tale of two halves in regards to straight kicking. Like 3 goals, seven in the first half for Adelaide. They finished off 7 goals, one. Where on the flip
Yeah,
side, 5 goals, three for the Lions. They kicked 3 goals, 12, and a couple are out in the full in the second
yeah,
half. So
back to their old ways.
yeah, it looked like, funnily enough, like for such a mature side and how cool and calm and collected they are, they look like they panicked a lot. When you look at the match timeline and the graph, you can see that all those points in a
Yeah,
row. Literally, the guys that kicked those points were Archie, it was Lockie Neal,
Neil.
Cam Rayner, like all the guys that you would literally gun to your head. You were going, Lockie Neal running into an open goal, yes. And he just sprayed it. So, bizarre sort of finish to their game, really. Um, but they definitely deserve to win. Brisbane look like they. It's weird watching Brisbane against shit teams. They play shit and they just scrape through. But when they come up against a
Yeah,
good side, they look ready to go every time.
yeah. Crows did deserve the win. It's good to see them up there. Uh, Almost makes you think the top three will be the top three. I don't know. Well, Geelong's coming strong, but yeah, Crows I reckon will be in that top three for sure.
The thing with Geelong is their run. So Geelong's
Mm,
fixture in this second half of the year is so easy. They've got such a good run coming, and it starts this week with the Bombers. So I can't see them moving out of the top four.
yeah,
I think you're pretty spot on. I think sort of perhaps any sort of disaster, I think the ladder could, in the top 4 cents, stay pretty much exactly how it is. Maybe the Crows go to fourth and Geelong slip up to third, but I think you're right. I think the top four will pretty much stay as is.
Yeah, I do think the
Jordan
Crows got the
Dawson,
best. Yeah, they got the best. They
you
got
go.
Dawson. They also got the three big forwards in Tex, Thilthorpe, and Fogarty. Good luck trying to stop them. And then they drop the ball, and then you got Rankin running at their feet, or Neil Bull in there.
Rochelle's playing good footy as well.
Yeah, they're all stepping up. I just think Sid Draper should have been in the team.
Yeah, I think what's going to be interesting is it's like, in my opinion, due to the weather, do you have to pick the three tools? Probably not. Maybe you go with more of a Sid Draper. I mean, they obviously won in the end, but
They put Laird in.
yeah, I mean, Laird's probably got to come back. He's been really good off that half back line, but it just interesting that even pissing down with rain, they still went with the three tools. I think that'll be geared up for a September run when the weather dries up and the ovals, like you can play slick footy and get it to your tools. But surely in this sort of really wet, boggy period of the year, they can go with just two tools and have some more speed in their forward line.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We'll get on to the next one. I didn't bother flicking the channel with this one. Tigers 36 to Swans 80. I think it was
Don't
expected
really,
the way
yeah.
the game. Like Tigers won the first quarter by a goal. But I always knew Sydney were going to knuckle down on this one. Like Blakely, Heaney, Mills, Taranto's friggin' what's his name? The Tigers, but they all good. The Stars stepped up. That's what I'm trying to cough out of my lips.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Callum Mills' second game back from injury looked way, way better for the run. Harry
Yeah.
Cunningham sort of shored up that back line. Like, if you actually go onto the box score and look at the marks, because I only watched a little bit, but the stats back it up. Tom McCartan, defence. Harry Cunningham, defence. Nick Blakey, defence. Callum Mills, defence. Riley Bice, defence. 14 marks, 11 marks, 10 marks, 9 marks, 9 marks. So there was a
Yeah.
clear game plan that they wanted to shift the footy around their back line and change angles, and they just sort of ran the young Tigers ragged a little bit. And you could tell that because, for example, I reckon it was who's their gun? Dion Prestia. He had like 15 touches in the first quarter. He had 6 for the rest of the game.
yeah, that's
So
bizarre.
So once Sydney sort of dominated the possession, the Tigers just couldn't go the other way.
Yeah.
Too busy defending. But that was really it with that game.
Cats and the Suns 61 to 37. Cats way. And no Bailey Smith in this one. But
Hamstring
Matt
scare.
Holmes,
Isn't it good though that you can just you've got a midfield that consists of Matty Rao, Noah Anderson, Bailey Humphrey, Took Miller, those sort of guys. Your almost Brownlow leading midfielder has a week off, and in comes Maxi Holmes just with a 40 bomb. Like, unbelievable. He just
behind.
two behind, nearly a kilometre in metres gained. That's nuts to me.
Mize 26 touches and a goal. Atkins 23 and a goal. Like, just an all-around great performance. Stangle 4 goals. Like, everyone stepped up.
Yeah, their half forward brigade work unbelievably hard. Like Brad Close, Tom Atkins, Ollie Dempsey. I know he plays a bit more wing and Tom Atkins plays a bit more on ball, but then you've got like Shannon Neal moves well for a big fella. Sean Manor works ridiculously hard.
Yeah.
So like, and even Brian Myers, like Sean Manor and Brian Myers and Close, they get their ball sometimes on the half back line or on the wing. And yet they're also the first ones at the fall of the ball when it goes up forward to your Stengels, to your Jeremy Camerons. Like, crazy stuff how hard they work. Like, their conditioning is obviously insane.
Yeah. It's actually just a good all round game by Geelong. Like they had 239 kicks to the Suns 172.
Yeah, which
Just
you could just tell, like with the pressure that was put on. Because if you look at the flip side of that, like if you look at the handball game as well, it was relatively even, which obviously just shows that Gold Coast couldn't get a kicking game going, and it was pissing down. So if you can't kick the footy in the wet, you're in a little bit of struggle town as it is.
yeah. We'll move on to the closing game of Saturday. The Giants 50 to Port Adelaide 66. I did not tip this one. I had Giants to roll over them.
Weird game. Well coached by Kenny though. Very well coached. He had
Yeah,
their
we'll give
boys
it
sort
to
of.
them.
I thought last quarter, to be honest, a young power side that maybe GWS run over the top, but not to their credit, they held out. And how's this for a super sub? Christian Moraes came on with about 15 minutes to go. He had one touch, one mark, one kick, one goal, which is pretty much the sealer.
That's all you need.
That's all you need. So that's a super sub if I ever seen. But yeah, I don't mind the move. They've sort of put Miles Bergman on ball as Connor Rosie's gone back,
Yeah.
and it's just sort of help the defensive aspect of their midfield brigade. Like they have guys like Ollie Wines and Zach Butters that are obviously a bit more offensive minded, and when you had Connor Rosie in there as well, you had three offensive minded midfielders. So throwing a Miles Bergman in there, that's obviously main priority for him is to tackle, and then sending Connor Rosie back has just sort of helped bring some life into their team again, because obviously Rosie's almost playing like a Dan Houston type role back there.
Yeah.
I think it's well coached. So yeah, good
Well,
on
it's
Kenny.
close.
Still getting a spark out of his boys.
Like it was still a close game. Like Giants had 206 kicks to Port's 208, and he had 139 handballs to 135. So it was a really close slugfest.
Yeah, big time. It wasn't until the last 5 minutes that Port kicked a couple to get away. But yeah, literally before that moment, flip a coin, because yeah, it was anyone's game at that stage with 5 minutes to go.
But no, good on Port for getting the win. We'll move on to the Sunday game. The Kangas and the Eagles, 62 to 52.
Might have been one of the most ugliest game of footy I've ever watched in my life.
Yeah, I could almost say the Eagles' goal kicking is what shot them in the arse at the end. Where they played in Bunbury, in WA, or Tassie or something. Yeah.
For West Coast, they'll just get on top now. Somehow just was not the case. North Melbourne kicked 5 goals all day, and they kicked 4 goals, 5 in the last quarter. So
Yeah.
very, very bizarre finish. Probably just shows how young West Coast are. They just didn't have the legs. They kicked 1 goal, 2 in the last to 4 goals, 5. But yeah, absolutely crazy sort of finish.
Yeah, it was honestly a boring game to watch. It was real sloppy and
Two
I didn't
shit
enjoy
teams
it.
with shit skills.
Yeah, two bottom of the barrel teams going at it. But yeah, when you're watching an AFL team kick as poorly as that, it makes you not want to watch it. When they kick 6 goals, 16 in the game, it's like flip that around. You've smashed Kangas.
Yeah. And they were very kickable goals too. It was just, yeah, it was very ugly.
I think they'd be kicking themselves knowing they could have won this one and they let it get away.
Yeah.
We'll go on to. Oh, what are you going to say?
No, I think that I was pretty much just going to say the ones that were kind of licking their lips, I suppose, was going to be Richmond, because that got West Coast another game closer to them. Richmond want their number one pick. So
Yeah. Very
if
true.
West Coast won, then yeah, North West Coast would have been on 2 wins with Richmond on 3. So then it would have been the fight was back on. I can't see West Coast winning 2 more games this year though to get themselves up to overtake Richmond for that number one
Yeah,
pick.
no.
But yeah,
The Blues 78 to your Bombers 70. I think it was pretty obvious it was the first quarter that shot them in the foot.
2 weeks in a row, don't know how to feel as a Bombers fan. I think I was saying it to everyone over the past sort of 12 hours, but we have this team that you're expecting the 40-7 and even the big first quarter that Brisbane had last week to happen, but you're then expecting it to translate for the rest of the game,
Yeah.
and it doesn't. It's like the young kids then figure out, all right, we need to do this, but it takes them 35 minutes to figure it out.
Yeah.
So 10 goals to 5 for the rest of the game, and we still lose because we're too slow to start the game, which is odd for a young team. You'd think it'd be the opposite and we get blown out late, but
Yeah.
yeah, against Brisbane and Carlton, we've come storming home and still not enough.
I think it's positive signs for Essendon, even though you lost. It's just that opening of the game which what killed you.
We're getting our young kids a run so we can blood some more flesh, which will hopefully sort of help us with depth in the future.
Yeah.
The problem that we have is our guys that are supposed to be our top liners are the ones that have the issues with their skill. Like Andrew McGrath, yeah, he's turned into a good shutdown back pocket, but that's our number one pick. Like, you saw what Hugh McCluggage did last week against the Bombers, ironically enough, but he was pick 3, and we were trying to pick up a tough, hard-running inside mid, and we end up getting a shutdown back pocket compared to Hugh McCluggage that looks like he could be an All-Australian midfielder. So Andy McGrath, I don't know how AFL work out their statistics, but he had 23 disposals. He had 7 turnovers, but apparently ran at 87% efficiency. So I don't know how you turn the ball over 30% of the time, yet you run at 87%. But he turns it over. Darcy Parish, first game back, had 30 touches, but turned the ball over a lot. Nick Martin, a couple of times, as good as his last quarter was, streaming through the middle of the ground, turned the footy over. Like, we have too many guys that are supposed to be our top liners just turning the footy over. So if we can fix up our skills, we'll be all right moving forward.
Yeah. Well said, mate. In the last game that's on right now, in the third quarter, the D's 38 to the Pies 51. So a 13-point game as we speak.
Yeah, Jake Melsham just kicked a very kickable goal. 25 out on a slight angle and missed it. So they could have been back to 8 points, but it's still 13. It's been a grub of a game again. Weather obviously affecting it. The MCG looks terrible. The Oval looks fucking shit. So obviously weather's affecting that as well. But yeah, this will be a grub. This will just fill in with every other game. It'll be a Port Adelaide Giants sort of type of score.
Absolutely. I consider these coming back to make it somewhat of a bit closer game, but I think the Pies will put the foot on the throat in the last.
Yeah, like they have done a couple of times. Could be like similar to North Melbourne sort of game where it's close all day and then Collingwood just go whack and just turn it on from there. All right, sir.
All right. Swiftly.
Good little wrap up.
Was perfect. A good hour on the sports wrap up.
Absolutely. We shaved 15 minutes off our normal.
We did. Thank fuck.
All right. We will speak about the sport very soon, hopefully after the Thunder raise the cup.
Definitely. Sounds good.
All right, sir.
All right.
Peace.
Keep your stick on the ice.